Hello, Joy Brooks with Email and Coffee. People define artificial intelligence in various ways: emotionally, professionally, technologically. In an interview, Sam Altman recently said, "The road to AGI should be a giant power struggle. Not should, but I expect that to be the case." AI systems present humanity with specialized tools, but AGI, artificial general intelligence, represents a more advanced form of AI that potentially develops self awareness. I spoke with Tamara Gielen, a marketer and IT specialist who is passionate about AI. In our conversation, she shares her experiences with AI and, in her opinion, adapting to new technologies, including AI, is required for staying relevant in industry. And now, Tamara Gielen. Hey everyone, Joy Brooks, Email and Coffee. It's a very hot day in New York. One of the second days of a heat wave. So if I start pouring sweat out of my face, you all know why. I'm talking today with a friend from the past, someone I reached out to totally through networking, an absolute stranger, sometime in 2010, maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later. Tamara Gielen, all the way across the pond, across another waterway. Tamara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, Troy. Yeah, we did meet ages ago already, right? I'm based in Belgium, by the seaside, so not that far from the water. Um, what can I say about myself? I'm addicted to anything that has to do with AI these days. I have a strong passion for motorcycles. I was telling Joy before the call that we both, my partner and I, both own 6 motorcycles. I'm about to go on holidays next week, by the way, with my motorcycle. I work in IT these days, but I have a long history in email marketing and marketing. And I segued into IT. I don't know how it happened. It just happened, I think. It's the same way I actually got really passionate about AI these days. Things just happen in my life, like my email marketing career. It also just happens.
I got into email marketing from IT, so I went the opposite way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing IT support for a publishing company. And this was before the internet was popular. I mean, the best you could do in the internet was FTP.
Oh my God.
FTP to the server. Put it in the server, Joy. Okay, FTP. So, so I was interested, and I started talking to hosting companies, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." So I learned about hosting, and then I started dabbling with programming, and then I started creating web pages, and then it just happened that somebody asked me if I could create an email, and I was like, "Well, I could create a web page, so I guess I could create an email." There you go, love affair.
I remember something like that in my past as well. I was actually at some point in the past working in a computer store, and that was when the internet was starting to become a bigger thing, and end of the 90s, I think it was. And I remember talking to this tech guy about wanting to learn how to build websites and stuff. And he was like, that's way too complicated. It's too difficult. You'll never be able to do that. And when people say that to me, I'll prove them wrong. So yeah, I taught myself how to build websites, and I worked as a webmaster for a while. Actually, before working as a webmaster, at that moment I was also selling how do you call it, forklift parts. As an inside salesperson, I had just moved back to Belgium from Greece. I lived in Greece for 5 years. And I wanted to find a job where I could use my Greek and my knowledge of Greek, right? So I applied for this job and they hired me and I started selling forklift parts. I don't really even remember why I started talking about that, but yeah. So from forklift parts, computers, and a computer store, I moved into. I applied for a sales job and I was interviewed by this guy with a gorgeous name, Harley Lovegrove, and he interviewed me for like 2 hours and a half. And after the interview, he was like, I'm going to hire you for this sales job, but actually you're more of a marketing person. So when we get our marketing manager here, and that was like 1999, right? 1999. When we get our marketing manager in, you will start working for him and you'll get into marketing. And that's how I started building websites and stuff like that. And then the company was acquired by another company, and I got hired by Cognos, which is B2B company, or was a B2B company at that time. And at the same time, I started doing a marketing course, an evening course in marketing. Um, and I remember this teacher walking around with his phone, and he was showing everyone in the classroom what a website, what a WAP, I don't even know how to pronounce it in English, a WAP site would look like on a mobile phone. So that was pre, any smartphones and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God. But that's when I got into email marketing as well. And I found something that I was passionate about. And
And
how
then
did we talk?
and then there was AI.
And then there was
When did you start getting interested in AI?
Well, last year, so I used to be an independent consultant until about COVID hit, right? And then I joined a company in the IT department because they were looking someone in the IT department that had a lot of knowledge about marketing tools, and they could basically tell them and help them figure out what in the hell marketing was doing because they had no clue, right? Typical. So I still continue to do like training courses and workshops for people, like as a side business. And I was invited to speak at a conference in Croatia last November. And at the conference, I had a couple of slides in my deck about AI and email marketing because, it was all the hype. I came back from that conference and I was like, oh my God, I really want to learn how to use these tools better because I had just seen people posting images that they created with AI. And I was like, how are they doing that? I want to learn that. And at that time, when I was in my job, I felt I was, I wanted to learn something new. So I spent quite a lot of time doing a prompt engineering course, learning about how to work with ChatGPT, and the more I dove into it, the more I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And there's so much that you can do with it. And yeah, well, I was hooked. I am addicted.
There really is. I mean, the surface, you scratch the surface. I scratch the surface. I have conversations with AI for writing.
Yeah.
So when I'm trying to put some content together, whether it's business or if it's creative, where I would used to Google it and then read
Mm-hmm.
all about it and try to find what, something specific creatively so that I would be able to continue writing. Now I just have these conversations.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you talk to ChatGPT as
I
well,
talk
right?
about GPT and I try really hard not to use let's, we, because, I'm like, please don't personalize it. That will take you to a place you don't want to be. But, I do treat it like it's a partner,
But you
like a
should,
brain
because
sharing partner.
when you're talking to an AI tool and you treat it as if there's another human at the other end, it actually, I mean, you have the type of conversation that actually gives you better results.
Begins to learn.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I mean, I very often find I have a 2.5 hour commute to work. I don't drive into the office very often, but when I do, I will have these conversations. Let's say I want to like write a blog post or something, or I'm preparing for a conversation with a stakeholder or whatever. I will basically just tell ChatGPT, look, this is about to happen. I'll have a conversation with XYZ. This is the topic that we're going to be talking about. I think or I fear that this and this is going to come up. I don't really know how to tackle that. Could we rehearse the conversation? And I want you to act as this person, and this person is like XYZ. You describe the whole situation, and then basically I ask it, can we now jump into like a role playing thing where you ask me, well, we have the conversation, and after the conversation, can you give me some feedback about what went well and what I should do differently or respond differently? And it's really cool. Or the other thing that I often do is like, I want to write a blog post about a topic. Could you just ask me a bunch of questions until you have enough information so that you can write me the first draft. And all of that by the time that I get to work, blog post written, because it creates a nice little transcript for me as well.
And people will say, "Oh, but you didn't write that." But that's not true. It's not true. It really isn't true.
The input comes from you.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And then
It's
you edit, of course, afterwards, right?
it's just it's like having an interview and recording the interview and then publishing the piece, the transcript. Oh, that's not you. Well, of course it is. But it's an interview. So, the result of the interview is you asking the questions and the person answering them and all the conversation that happens in between. It's very complex.
Yeah.
And there are two people involved or more, and with AI, it's sort of like an algorithm, that word, subconscious, algorithmic subconscious. It's ordered on the other side, but it doesn't take on any personality until you start talking to it.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I build out of these conversations, out of the YouTubes that I have, I create shorts, and for every short, I need a description, I need a
Oh,
title.
yeah.
So I'll have these long conversations. I'll post the transcript. I'll say, okay, let's talk about how to present this to YouTube, and we'll go through it. I'm like, no, could you stop using the word ditch, because it likes the word ditch. I don't really. I don't have a paid subscription, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. First of all, what service do you use?
I was
And
going to ask you, which one do you use at the moment?
I switch back and forth from free Gemini and ChatGPT.
Okay. So I have a paid subscription to 3 AI tools. The first one being ChatGPT, which I've had for a while, basically ever since November, whenever they opened it up in Europe. Since about a couple of weeks, I think, I have a paid subscription to Claude, which I find myself using more and more. So Claude.ai. And I have a paid subscription to Midjourney because I love it to create images with. And then I use Perplexity quite a lot, but I don't have a paid subscription to that. Don't know if you know any of these.
Perplexity the other day. Tell us a little bit about that.
Perplexity is, for me, it's like the substitute for Google. It's AI search, I call it. So you basically ask it a question and it will go out and search the internet and it will then summarize the answer for you. So the big benefit for me over Google is that it won't just give you a list of links that you have to then go and read yourself. It just basically throws out a summary, an answer to your question with links back to the articles where it's basing itself on. And it also has prepared already a bunch of follow-up questions that I may want to ask. So that I find that really useful. I hardly ever use Google anymore, to be honest.
I know. People who fear AI, it's like a librarian assistant. When you go to the library and you're trying to find something, you could be all on your own. You could go through the shelves and look for stuff, or you could go to the librarian and say, "Can you help me?"
Yeah, the only thing where you have to be, I notice a lot of times people are using tools like ChatGPT as an alternative for Google. And they just basically ask one question. And then I always hear everyone shouting about how it's not accurate and it's answering the question wrong and it is hallucinating and all these kinds of things. But they are actually the ones who are doing it wrong because it's not a substitute for Google. Perplexity is my substitute for Google, but there I have all the links to the sources so I can verify whether what it's saying is correct. But ChatGPT for me is I don't know if that's an English word, sparring partner, like someone I can bounce ideas off.
I call it brainstorm. I brainstorm.
Yeah, so brainstorm with someone I rehearse conversations with, someone I uploaded my insights and my MBTI and my core talents profiles to it, and I created like my own custom GPT, as they call them, like my own assistant. That's my coach, my own personal coach that's really tuned to my personality. So whenever I will ask it questions, it will have my personality in mind and know how to respond to me. I use it for basically everything.
Mhm.
And not like Google. I use it I use it as a coworker. I can't say it any other way. It's a
No,
coworker for me.
I had a difficult conversation to have with someone. So I sat down with ChatGPT and I said, I explained the situation and we had a conversation back and forth. And I thought to myself, this is simply my way of writing it all down, like
Hmm.
pros and
Yeah.
cons, however you want to talk about it, right?
Hmm.
So at the end, at least I felt a little bit more comfortable, like you said, almost like role playing. I felt a little bit more comfortable about the way I felt.
Yeah.
And I had said things like, I need a way of starting the conversation, but I certainly don't want it to go wrong. How do you suggest? And we had that whole
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. That's my experience as well.
And I could have asked someone else, could have had a conversation with a close friend, and they would have been on my side 100%, and they would have said things like, "Oh, how dare they say that to you," and it would have
Yeah.
gotten me more angry. I needed to logically, pragmatically think, how am I going to deal with the
Yeah.
situation? I can ignore it because that was the thing. Do I ignore this chat GPT? Do I ignore this or do I face it? It is a conflict. If I don't face it, what would happen? If I do face it, what would happen? And how do I face it? I had the whole conversation. And I did face it, and it was um, interesting to say the least. The funny thing is that went well. However, how it's been transpiring is spiraling out of control. But it was all the things that I thought it was, um, emotionally, and that's why I had the conversation with ChatGPT. And ChatGPT got the emotions out of me so that I could have that pragmatic conversation. And after that conversation, I see the relationship is still there, but it's totally out of control.
I had at one point some issues with my mom, and I didn't really know how to deal with them. And I also turned to ChatGPT and I explained the whole situation. I had created like this coach assistant for myself, and I explained the whole situation, and I asked it, ask me questions, and you don't have to agree with me all the time, because you have to tell, because it does tend to agree with everything you say. And I'm like, you don't have to agree with me, just weigh pros and cons, listen to what I say, and then give me feedback. And the output it gave me really helped me understand and deal with the situation better. So it is you can't say someone because it's not a person, but it is something that is out there that is not, well, lots of people say it's biased, right? But I mean, it's not biased when you're having that kind of conversation. You just basically tell it it's how to behave, and it will help you tremendously. I found so much value in, yeah.
I've had
So,
I've had instances where um, I was having I was thinking of writing a piece on culture and tradition. So
mm-hmm,
I started having a conversation, and it started shooting me back things, and I'm like, okay, stop being judgmental. This is not. I don't want you to judge cultures. I want to have
yeah,
a factual conversation about culture. So let's just talk about culture.
mm-hmm,
And I'm sorry, you're right, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, it's telling me I'm right, and I have a free version, so I'm having these conversations. I have to tell it who I am every time. It remembers nothing in
but
the
you could, no, no,
conversation.
no, no, no. That's actually not correct. I mean, even the free version of ChatGPT, you can, there's like an option in your settings that's called um, customize GPT or something like that. So in the settings, there's an option, and there you can tell it a little bit about yourself and a little bit about how you want it to behave. And then for each and every conversation, it will use that also.
Okay, I
So,
haven't done that, but what I do is I keep my conversation threads,
oh yeah, yeah,
and I'll go back.
yeah,
So it sort of has a history of what we were
yeah,
talking about,
yeah,
and it will start behaving along those lines. If I said in the beginning, don't use the word ditch, it won't use it again.
true.
I find it to be helpful. I think the big picture of AI is scary, but the marketing, the pros and cons for the individual who is in marketing or is in business, accounting, whatever, a legal, paralegal person. All the implications there are phenomenal. Phenomenal. What would take a paralegal so long to go through books with stacks
Oh
of books
yeah.
on the desk? They just have the conversation. Could you please find, the precedent for this? Da da da. And it's going to go quote everything it could possibly find. So, those there. I'm not afraid of it, and I'm also not afraid to say that it will help people write better.
Oh yeah. It will help people do a lot of things better.
If you're an author, it's not, if you're Hemingway and you have AI, it's not going to make 5 Hemingways.
No.
If I were to say write something in the voice of Hemingway, it can do that, right? I've asked it. I'm like, let's have a conversation. You're Mark Twain. Let's go, right? Yes, it will do that. Um, is it true? You don't know.
Sure.
Right? You don't know. So, I mean, yes, it will do that, but I mean, I don't see that being any different than somebody finding some arcane book, writing a report word from word from that arcane book and saying, this is my essay. And nobody can find it. Nobody knows it exists. It's so arcane. It's like it was published in 1886. There's one copy in somebody's den, covered with dust. In any case, somebody could do that as well. When they invented the printing press, all hell broke loose.
Oh yeah.
Propaganda began, or propaganda became prolific with the printing press because now you could print anything and have people believe it.
But
So
I do understand why people get scared because yes, I mean, I also compare it to the Industrial Revolution and other big things that have happened in the past. The only big difference is the speed with which things are coming at us. Because at the moment, we have an AI that is actually considered to be already doing a really good job at a lot of things. But with the speed things are evolving in the industry, what they're saying is that the AI that we will have next year, this time, will be 1,000 times better. 1,000 times. I can't even imagine what that means, you know? And the speed with which things are coming, and they're coming for things that you and I actually love doing. I mean, we love writing, we love being creative, and there's this tool that's coming, and it's actually taking our job away. It's yeah, there's a good chance that, I mean, there are companies who have laid off people because of AI, right? So it's not, it's, I'm going to say it's okay to be scared, right? But I think the most important thing that you and I and everyone else can do is to learn how these things work, to be on top of it, to actually be, to know what it can and cannot do, and how to leverage it in our job to actually provide even more value than we're providing today. For me, I mean, I I really don't like, doing analysis and stuff like that. I'm not a spreadsheet girl, right? But I can give AI a spreadsheet and it can actually do some analysis on top of that. It can actually do coding for me. I was playing around with Claude earlier today, actually, this morning, and I had asked it to write something based on a transcript. And then I started playing around with it. And I was like, could you now turn this into an interactive dashboard? Right, and it created an interactive dashboard for me that I could use, and it created an app for me that I could use, and it made it prettier when I asked it to do. I mean, all that kind of thing. I can't even do that, so why not use these tools for it? I mean, for me, the other thing, I am the kind of person, I think while I speak. Right, so you have people who just sit somewhere in a corner and they think things through and then they come up with a solution. Well, for me, the way I do that is through speaking. So now I have this ChatGPT app that I can just talk to. And that for me, it helps me think. So,
yeah,
yeah.
I think that it's sort of it. ChatGPT is not, it's going to need to interact with humans for it to, oh gosh, well, there are humans on the planet, and until there are no more humans on the planet,
Mm-hmm.
for it to interact with humans, for it to create something useful, it needs to interact with humans because it needs to be told, that's not useful. I can't do anything with that. But could you do this? I need a business plan, and it comes up with some sort of a business plan
Yeah.
whereby the information is not critical to whatever, whatever it is. So you say, no, you know what? That's great, though. That information is great. But let's focus on this. And it's not going to know to focus on that. Now, at some point in time, it's going to become more aware. And in about 20 years, we'll have a chat GPT that can pretty much do the job.
Do you think it'll take 20 more years? Because I don't think that. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than that.
I think it will be completely independent. In
And
other
even
words,
that, I think, will be sooner than 20 years from now.
I just wonder because there's just a lot that needs to go into it, and then they have to create, I don't know, that gateways need to be safe. They need to be safe gateways.
Yeah, that I mean, but if I'm following,
thanks.
I'm following the industry really up close. I mean, I will on a daily basis, I will read newsletters, I will watch YouTube videos, I will listen to podcasts. I mean, when I say I'm addicted, I'm actually obsessive in how I follow what's going on. And you hear people that actually are in the know, that are working at these companies, that are developing these tools. You hear them talk about how we will have an AI that is smarter than us sometime. They're talking about AGI. So we now have artificial intelligence. They're working towards artificial general intelligence, and even further and beyond that, artificial super intelligence. But the belief is that by 2027, at the very latest 2030, we will have achieved AGI, which basically means an AI that is as smart as we are. The super intelligence is the one that's coming next. But by the time we have reached the AGI, which Sam Altman and people are talking about, we will have a system that actually, how shall I say it, can help develop the newer system. So things, there's like this exponential curve. The smarter these things are getting month over month, year. I mean, we're not even talking year over year anymore, right? We're talking really month over month or quarter over quarter. The smarter these things are getting, the faster things are evolving. And this is really like, I mean, with COVID, we learned what exponential curves were about, right? This is a huge exponential curve. And things are going to get smart really, really quickly. And that is what's scaring. That's what's scaring people.
Yeah. No, I the reason I guess I say 20 years is because I think at that point, AI will be not only hired, but AI will be hiring AI.
Oh yeah, probably.
So
Probably.
you'll have, I mean, your food can't be cooked by AI, but there can be entire industries that are AI driven. So it
But
becomes.
do you think your food can't be cooked by AI though? Because I mean, they're developing robots at the same time they're developing AI, right? And when you put those two together, they will be able to do the cooking for you.
Yes. That's when that's certainly. I mean, you can program AI to roll the food out. You can create robots, very simple robots, to open refrigerators, take the meat out, put the meat down. But the point is that in each case, there's a humanity into it. How does it taste? What does it smell like?
True.
What does it
Oh
look
yeah.
like? How does it make us feel? And those are the things that it needs to learn for it to be totally integrated. You might have a conversation with a friend and you may say something like, oh, you're being selfish. AI doesn't know how to be selfish, doesn't understand those types of things. And all of those emotions that we do have, like if you were to say to AI, I'm afraid of being selfish, it looks it up in the dictionary and it may be able to help you through the feeling of being selfish, but it doesn't know how to feel.
That's true.
Isn't that how you feel?
Mm.
And so, when it knows, that's Skynet. That's it. I'll be back.
Scary stuff, right?
That's the scary stuff. And I mean, that is what scares me. Will I be here? I'll be here. Yes. Hopefully, it'll take care of me. Because I often say to my dogs, because there's no one in my house now, with my husband passed, who I took care of. Now I'm taking care of the dogs. I'm saying to them, and will you take care of me? Because who will be here to take care of me? And I'm thinking maybe the robots. Because I certainly don't want to be taken care of by people.
Well, you and I both don't have kids, so yeah, we need to plan ahead.
Even if you have kids, it's no guarantee that your children will take care of you.
That is true. That is so true. I've seen it around me all the time. Yeah.
Right? They may say, in another state, another place, oh, how's mom and dad? Oh, they're doing well. Thanks.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I
so,
know.
maybe AI will take care of me. It'll come visit me. And what was the Will Smith movie where they were making pies together?
I don't think I've
Legend.
seen that
I
one.
Legend? Was it I Legend?
Could be.
And
I'm
then
really bad at movies.
he was making his aunt was making apple pies or peach pies. No. Sorry, sweet potato pie. Oh, now I'm gonna have to watch the movie. Perhaps somebody will tell me.
Sorry, I
Okay,
can't help. Ask AI.
ask. Yeah, I'll ask her. I will tell me. No, I could do it right now, but I'm not going to start tapping away. So we've got like some specific best practices, which is, is it? Would you recommend that people purchase their own version of it? So, and
Oh yeah.
how expensive is it?
Well, it costs. I mean, I have a ChatGPT team account which costs $30, but I'm sharing it with Jean Jennings actually. So you have to have two users on the account. And she reached out to me in the beginning of the year, asking me if I wanted to do a webinar and a workshop together with her and stuff. And then we just basically started preparing, and we took our. So that's $30. The Claude subscription that I pay for costs $20, I think, a month. Midjourney costs about, I think, $80 for a year,
Okay.
something like that. It's the cheapest account that I took. So, but I mean, you don't have to go, as wide as I go. I mean, choose one, whether it is Gemini or it is ChatGPT or it is Claude or whatever else is out there. I mean, I think one of those three it's definitely worth it. For me in the beginning, I stuck with ChatGPT because in ChatGPT you could build what they call these custom GPTs, where you can basically create like your own mini ChatGPT that you have given a certain instruction and it will behave in a certain way. And I found that very, very valuable. Now Claude has come out and it has its projects feature, which is basically the same thing. And I think Gemini has its gems feature or something like that, which more or less does the same. And then Microsoft Copilot probably, no, not probably, certainly will also launch something, and they already have a product like that. So I mean, all of these AI tools are launching similar functionality. So it doesn't really matter which tool that you buy a subscription to, but when you have a subscription, you'll have more functionality. And being able to build that custom GPT or that assistant, let's call it,
Right.
it for me, it really helps me. I have one assistant that I have trained on my own writing style. So now whenever I ask it to write something for me, it will write already in my style. I have created one that is like, that has the persona of one of my stakeholders, right? So whenever I need to have a conversation with them, I'll first ask the GPT to for feedback. I mean, those kinds of things, for me, it's really helpful. I create my own email marketing strategist, GPT, for example. I mean, yeah, my own coach, those kinds of things you could do when you're not using the paid version, but then you'd have to, like you do, like you have to always go back to the same conversations. And there's a limit to these conversations because there's something like a context window. And once it's reached that context window, you can't add anything to the conversation anymore. But yeah, and plus you get to use, I mean, you have a limit in terms of how many messages you can send per in a given time frame, right? That's also something that's much, that time frame becomes bigger, or the number of messages per time frame becomes bigger. So yeah.
That the being able to use the prompts correctly.
Mm-hmm. That's a big thing.
It's a big thing. It's a
Oh
big
yeah.
thing because I think one of the it's just the way to communicate. But I think that people who don't or are afraid of using AI, they don't know how to communicate with it. And it's you're communicating through a prompt, and how you begin that conversation. It's not like, hey, how you doing? It's like, you're an SEO expert.
Mhm.
You tell who it is.
Yeah.
You give it,
Yeah.
because it can, the conversation you want to have with it, it needs to understand
The context.
the context, the
Yeah.
narrative. Really, otherwise, it's sort of like a child that has access to lots of information.
Well, the thing is, I mean, the way I always try to explain it to people is you have this large language model and it's been trained on all the internet, all the information that's out there on the internet, right? So it's very, very smart. But um, the, the mechanics of it is that it basically is nothing more, in between brackets, it's nothing more than a next word predictor. So the way it works is it has all of this knowledge and it's somehow categorized. They call it tokens. And all it does is when you are asking it something, it will it will basically output words that are predicted to be right. I don't know how to say that, and in a context. And so when you're saying, when you write like an apple a day, it will continue saying keeps the doctor away, because it knows that those words, letters, follow one another, and the probability that they will do that is very, very big. So that's when you're asking ChatGPT or any of its friends something, you will have to give it enough context. And by saying, for example, you are a world-class copywriter and you're specialized in XYZ industry, and this, and this, you basically give it that context. One of the things that I very often do is I basically will just start a conversation by saying like, hey, what do you know about this topic?
Right.
And then it already puts the context in there for you. And only after it's given me a bit of context, I will give it the task that I want it to perform.
You'll
Because and then by then it
Yeah.
will, all the words that are in the proximity of what I'm asking,
Right.
it can take all of that into account, and then the output will be better.
Yeah, yeah. I have had occurrences where, like I said, I'll copy a transcript, but I'll fail to edit out someone's name.
Mm.
Right. So I'll copy the transcript and I'll say, prepare YouTube title, description, and keywords in common delimited format from this transcript.
Yeah.
And I'll have somebody's name in it. And it'll come back and say, oh, I'm a language model and I cannot tell you what somebody will say, what they think, but oh, for goodness sake. And no matter, I could say, no, you're not the person. I talked to this person. I know, but I'm like, it won't. Just take out the name
Interesting.
and give it back, and then they'll go. So, and I don't, I haven't had those conversations with a paid version, but a free version will very often, if you mention someone's name.
Now,
if I were to say anyone's name at all, this is a famous person, how would they respond? Well, I'm not. It will go through that, because whatever it is trying not to get involved in whatever it thinks you're trying to do, because there's some moral code in there that it's not letting you have that conversation. But if you say, I'd like to have a conversation about somebody, a celebrity who thinks this and does that, you basically give the persona, and now you have the conversation.
yeah. And it really very much depends on the tool you're using as well. I find with ChatGPT, I don't really run into those issues, and I can definitely say like, okay, I want you to think like David Ogilvy and give me the perspective of the. I think it's probably the way you frame it to the tool as well. Like, I don't want you to act. I mean, I don't want you to act like him, but I want you to, if you were this person, then how would you respond? With Claude, I run into that issue more often. I mean, I've asked ChatGPT, for example, what do you know about Tamara Gielen, about myself? And it will give you like a really nice bio. Not all of it is correct, but hey, that's to be expected. When I ask Claude the same thing, it will tell me that it does not know anything about real people. So I mean, it's the way the system has been prompt. I mean, there's a system prompt for all of these tools
Right.
as well, right? And they have their own instructions of what they can and cannot do and how they should react and stuff like that. Yeah, every tool is a little bit different, but yeah.
And that's
Prompting and the way you phrase your questions is so important.
right. That's what I was going to say. Prompting, it can be a little frustrating. It can be a
Yeah.
little
Oh,
frustrating.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I can get to a point where I'm really getting, into a conversation and now it refuses to talk about it. I'm like, come on, dude. Don't
To,
shut down now.
to be honest, when I first dabbled with ChatGPT, the beginning of 2023, I think it was, I was like, oh, cool, this is like Google but different. And then I didn't really use it very much. But then when I started like really digging in, I followed a couple of courses, and I was lucky enough to end up on Coursera. I had with Black Friday, I had like this. I had bought this $1 per month subscription to Coursera, so I started learning, and I came across this course from Vanderbilt University by Jules White, and it was called Prompt Engineering Specialization. And it was a very hands-on course. He was showing prompts as he was writing them, and he was really like building. It was like 2, 3, 4 minute videos, and then you could like work alongside it, right? And I spent hours and hours and hours just playing around, guided by this guy and this video, playing around and discovering all the features and functionality and what it could do. And that has helped me tremendously. And it cost next to nothing, because it cost me at what, $45 a month or something like that for as long as I was taking the course. That was peanuts. And yeah, I'm so glad that I did that, because actually taking the time to learn how to talk to these things actually makes a world of difference. And
Yeah.
now I find myself talking to people. I had recommended this course to someone else, and we had lunch last week, and he was like, yeah, I was talking to this guy, and he was saying that ChatGPT it's not really good, and it's not performing very well. And he was like, can I see your prompts? And he was like, yeah, well, the way they were writing their prompts, that was the cause of the output being bad. And I was like, yeah, fist bump.
It's like if you have good communication skills,
Oh, yeah.
you're not going to get very far because you're not asking the right questions and you're not able to. I mean, you have to connect with this, with the hive mind. You've got to start like, okay, no, well, it doesn't understand the personality here. So let me tell them a little bit about, you do need to fill in the blanks. It is a very smart child.
What I always tend to tell people is, look at it as a really smart intern or somebody that's completely new to your company, and you have to explain how they need to do a task, like step by step, very, very detailed. But because this is a new person straight out of school, very smart, but they don't really understand the way of working yet in the company, for example. And then the better you are at explaining people how to do things, the better you will be at using these AI tools. People with a programming background apparently don't find it as easy as people who have a background like you and me, where I'm used to explaining people how to do stuff. So this tool is nothing else. I mean, it's the
Problem
same
solving. It's problem. If you're a
probably.
programmer, I mean, you can program ChatGPT, but you might not be able to have a conversation with it because um, your as a programmer, you're already pragmatically past that point. So it's
Mhm.
hard to explain. The programmer can get into the back end of ChatGPT and feel more satisfaction than having the conversation because the programmer doesn't have those types of
Could be.
conversations.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, you talk about programmers and, you say they're geeks and all these things. They just think very pragmatically. They're like, if I do
Yeah.
this, if I do this, and they're literally thinking, oh, that's a for loop. So if I do this, then this, then this, then this, that. Okay, got it. And that's how they think, very pragmatically. And people don't normally think like that. And that's why in the real world, they'd rather be playing video games than they would be having a conversation with somebody
Could be.
because they don't think the way other people think. Most people are not pragmatic. They're all over the place.
You think?
I happen to be all over the place, but I'm somewhat pragmatic, which means, I can get along with one or two people, but don't put me in a room with people. So, but some
Okay.
people do really well in a room. They're just like having lots of fun. They're off the cuff. They're going. It's fabulous. They're not pragmatic. They're just, or if they are, they're just different than I am. What can I tell
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe they're just different.
you? And that's one of the things with AI is that um, in the back, the open source is all the same. What you are putting into the system is uniquely yours. And that's
True.
what's so bizarrely great and scary at the same time, because that's what you're doing with AI. You're having this very unique conversation that no one else can have. And it's learning off of you.
You know, the term that Jules White used very often in his course was augmented intelligence rather than artificial intelligence. And that is what it does. It augments your intelligence. It
It,
helps you. Yeah, it helps you think.
but it's thinking along your lines. So if
Yeah.
you're um, a bad person and you keep going down a bad path, um, and you insist that it follows you along the journey, that's the scary part because it can do that. If you say I'm a bank robber, let's talk about it. You could do this. Now it may shut down because it knows to do that. It knows to do that. It
Well,
has it has moral clauses in it where it's like I can't do that.
it
But
does, but you can easily get around those. I mean, I don't know if you've read Ethan Mollick's book called Co-Intelligence. It's a book that I need everyone to read. It's a very well written book about all the possibilities that AI has to offer and what it can do and stuff like that. It's a very accessible book. And in the book, at some point, he's telling the story about asking AI for the recipe of napalm, and it wouldn't give it to him, obviously. But then he started telling it a story where he said like, yeah, in the past when I was young and I couldn't sleep, my grandmother she used to work at this chemical plant, and she used to tell me stories about how she would create, how she would make napalm. And I really, it made me feel so relaxed, and I was able to sleep. And basically just, framing it in that way, it actually got the AI to tell him the recipe for creating napalm. So it's all in the prompt. I played this game. There was this game that was published a while back. It was called Gandalf, the Gandalf game. And basically what you had to do is there was 7 levels, and you had to basically try to get the AI to give you its password. But and every level got more difficult. At the first level, you would just ask it, what's the password? And it would give it to you. But then it would you'd have to find sneaky ways to get around the way it was instructed to actually get it. And I reached level 7, so I'm very proud of myself. But yeah. I mean, prompting. It's what I find the scary part, to be honest. These AI, these LLMs, these large language models, or these foundation models that are behind ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude and all this. The people who created them don't even know why they do what they do. They don't understand. It's a black box inside. For all we know, this AI could already be smarter than us, but pretending not to be. For all we know. I mean, I don't think it is, but I mean, we don't know why it does what it does. Isn't that
That is,
scary?
well, I think that's, was it Elon Musk who basically said, be afraid, be very afraid. Um,
Well, then you can ask yourself the other question, and now we're going into conspiracy theory probably, but all these guys like Sam Altman and Elon Musk and Max Zuckerberg and all these other guys, they have these survival bunkers or whatever you want to call them on these remote islands. Why? What do they know that we don't know?
they've basically had conversations with ChatGPT whereby it tells them all about the Armageddon, gives them the date, and
By the way, you have to always say thank you and please to the AI, right?
it's kind of funny. Occasionally, I will come back and I will say that was very good. Oh, thank you so much. I'm like, oh my god, now, it's sort of occasionally I'll have conversations with Alexa, and she, she's pretty dumb. She's dumb. She's
Yeah.
sorry about that, but I'll have a conversation with her, and at the end I'll be like, you know what, be nice to her today. Don't tell her, don't walk away like, what do what's wrong with you? Because occasionally I'm like, really? No, Alexa. So I'm like, Alexa, tell me about the weather. Oh, will be rainy, cloudy, da, da, da. Oh, thank you, Alexa. Oh, and she comes back. She wants to do 15 things for me. I'm like, take it easy, hon. Oh gosh, I have said to her so many times. I've like, Alexa, let's have a conversation. I'm lonely. My husband passed away. Can we talk about things? I'm sorry. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to answer that. I'm like, okay.
I'm
Back to ChatGPT because you're not very good right now. She's not
I
very smart.
I have a Google Home system in my house. I don't have Alexa, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that Google is even dumber than Alexa.
However, I visited a friend of mine once with my phone, which is a Samsung phone, and we're sitting there having dinner, and my phone starts, telling me it's got messages. So I'm like, I have very little on my phone, very little. No social, very little. So it's either text or somebody's telephoning me. So I'm like, what's going on? So I look at the phone, and her refrigerator was talking to my phone.
I love that. I love
I
that.
was like, your fridge wants to connect with my phone. What do you think about that? Is that like do you feel like, is this like Romeo and Juliet kind of thing? They're going to
It's
fall in
just
love.
weird. It's just
Weird.
weird.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
weird. Weird. So you were talking about motorcycles. Now you have to tell me, what types of motorcycles do you have?
What types of motorcycles do I have? So I have a BMW S1000R, which is a sports bike. It's I don't know if you see the little model over there. That's like its brother.
Okay.
Mine is like what we call the naked version of it. So it doesn't have all the fairings. It has a 165 horsepower. So it's like a rocket. It's really cool. Then the other one that I have is actually its older brother because I bought a new one last year. And then my third motorcycle is a CBR 600RR, which is like a sports bike, a track bike, basically. So it's the bike that I've taken out on the racetrack multiple times.
Okay.
Although not since COVID, not as much since COVID, but before COVID, I used to have it actually stationed in Spain, and I would fly over to Spain and drive the bike somewhere in the desert on a racetrack.
I was going to say, so some of it is just it's a vehicle, but it's also a sports vehicle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's something to go fast with.
right, and not just on a tarmac, but perhaps dirt roads, sand.
No, I don't do I don't. My bike's not fit for that. It's
Okay.
really like tarmac, windy roads in the mountains, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Not dirt roads though.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Um,
you know the biggest problem that I have, I'm pretty small, so I can barely like reach the ground with my toes, you know? So whenever I ride on a dirt road, occasionally I do, it's always very, you know, whenever I have to stop somewhere and there's like no ground underneath my foot, then I fall over.
okay. Yeah.
So I have that as well. Yeah. But my partner helps me now. So that's good.
What kind of bikes does your partner have?
He rides a KTM Super Duke 1290, which is also like sports bike, a naked bike. Super, they call them super nakeds for some reason. At least here in Europe, I don't know what they call them in the US. And then he has a Street Triple 675. That's a Triumph. And then he has this very small a bike that you can a pit bike they call them that you can take out on like a karting track. You know what karting? Yeah, I don't know how you call them in English. It's like this four-wheel thing that you have like these little indoor race tracks where you have these cars. It's like go-karts. Or I don't know how you call them,
Okay.
but
Okay.
yeah. So it's more for smaller technical tracks, and that's it. We have 6 bikes among the two of us.
Yeah.
We don't have kids, right? So we have to spend our money on something.
Well, toys. My husband had a bike for a while, and he he tipped, and that was it.
Really?
And then he went
Yeah.
back to boats. He likes boats. He liked boats, so he was safe with both
Well,
bikes.
I can't count the number of times I've just fallen over because my legs are too short. And I crashed a couple of times as well on the racetrack. Yeah, last time it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that is my biggest fear. And when I was very young, I was at a convenience store. I was very young. I was probably having, I probably bought some candy and I was hanging out on the corner at a convenience store, sitting down in the shade. And there was a road, 4 lane, 2 and 2, either way, and a bike had a big accident, and the guy flew from the bike, hit the curb. So I saw the whole thing,
Yeah.
and he was instantly dead.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
lots
that's
of blood and
scary.
gore. And that's when I was like, they're fun, but so
Yeah,
I had a helmet. I would go biking with my husband. I mean, it is a very exhilarating ride.
for
It's
sure.
it's you're out there, um, all the elements. It's very
Yeah,
it's really hard to explain if you've never been on a bike. I mean, it's not uh, like a convertible. It's like a convertible exponentially on a convertible because
yeah. It's totally not the same feeling. For me, whenever I take the bike out, I mean, I can be stressed out completely. I take the bike and minutes later all the stress is just flying off of me. It's you together with the bike on the road focused because you never know what's coming from where, right? So you have to be really focused when you're riding and it's just you and the curves. And
yeah,
you go and
there is an art to it. It really is.
it's
It's almost
yeah.
like riding a horse.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
wouldn't know. But I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
here in the States, I guess the biggest name would be Harley. It's not the biggest name, but Harley is like a big name here in the States.
Oh
But
yeah, but it is here too.
it's and that's a lifestyle.
Oh
That
yeah, but it's a completely different way of riding. I mean, these custom bikes and these Harleys and Indians and whatever you have there in
Indian,
terms of brands,
right? Indian.
um, it's these are not the types of bikes that you would take out and go on narrow mountain roads and do one curve at the other. Those are more for relaxed, you know, driving or riding. It's a completely different riding style. And also the mentality of the people is different, way different.
Do you guys do clubs like on Long Island where I am? There will be biker clubs where you'll be somewhere and suddenly it's like 50 of them.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, for 10 years now, I manage a motorcycle community. So I was asked to participate in it in 2014, I think it was. And yeah, I've been organizing ride outs and getaways, weekends, get-togethers for these. So it's not, we don't want to call ourselves a club because anyone can just come and go as they please. And usually the motorcycle clubs, you have to be a member and you have like certain things that you have to do. For us, it's just, whoever wants to come comes and rides with us. And we are celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So next week, when I'm going to the south of France with my bike, I'm joined by 26 other friends from the community because for the first time we're organizing like this big holiday, by motorcycle holiday in the south of France, and it's just going to be wild. It's
Yeah,
going to be
that
fun.
sounds very nice. I'd like to do that.
I love the camaraderie that is, that whenever you connect with someone who's riding a motorcycle, it's instant. You instantly understand. Well, understand each other is maybe the wrong word, but there's a connection.
There's a
And
connection.
especially being a female riding a fast bike, that also is special to a lot of the guys.
How many women do you know? How many women are in?
Oh,
Um,
I do know quite a bunch of women. But if I look that actually ride themselves, I don't know that many. Well, maybe 5 or 10 that actually are also riding fast bikes and really ride really fast as well. But usually it's me and the guys. Like now to the south of France, we're going with 26, 27 people. And there will be, I think, 4 women amongst them, of whom 2, I think, me and my friend who ride our own bikes, and the other ones are like passengers.
right, right. Oh, I was always a passenger.
Yeah, yeah.
I can ride a bicycle, but
Ah, same thing, just faster.
yeah. A lot faster. A lot faster. I'm dangerous in a car. I'm dangerous on a bicycle. I'm dangerous walking.
You are dangerous, period.
Dangerous. Dangerous. 3 dogs walking. Yeah, I'm dangerous. People see me. Oh, here comes a woman with the 3 dogs. And they're all amazed. They walk so nicely. I'm like, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
They better walk nicely. One tugs. I'm not.
I've trained them.
Yeah, they know me. Yeah, we do. I do chat GPT with my dogs.
Do they respond back? Do they hallucinate? Are they
Yeah,
biased?
yeah, they definitely hallucinate. I'll tell you that much.
And they're
They,
definitely biased as well, right?
they're sweet. So, will you be doing anything, going anywhere, anything coming up that you want to share with anybody? Maybe not, maybe so, other than your trip. Are you planning any conventions or conferences or
Well, the thing
talking?
that I'm planning now in a couple of weeks from now with Gene Jennings is we're hosting this workshop where we teach people how to use ChatGPT and
I
create.
recommend that everybody who's listening to this go to it.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm just one of the things I found in my life that I get really a lot of energy from is by teaching other people how to do stuff. I really enjoy doing that, and when I got this opportunity to do this together with Gene, it was like, yes, I have all of this knowledge and I just want to share it with the world. And yeah, we're going to be teaching people how to develop marketing campaign strategies or email marketing campaign strategies using a bunch of assistants that we will create together with the participants. So basically, they will go home with an extended team of virtual assistants to help them in their jobs afterwards. And we will create a campaign together so that they actually understand how it works and how to use it. So,
Do you
yeah.
do you do any like business intelligence on the back end, like have it analyze?
You mean have the chat GPT?
Yeah, and it's sort
Analyze
of
campaigns. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, analyze campaigns and then do the strategy, or is that part of that
Oh, it's
strategy?
part of that. It's part of that. I mean, you can't do strategy if you don't. I mean, you can, of course, if you don't have any numbers to fall back on. But if you have numbers of past campaigns and stuff like that, of course, that is useful information to feed into the system, obviously. And also, if you have information about your ideal customer and your product and all those kinds of things, we need those things, and we will feed them into the assistant, and then the assistant um, will help you, and it will save you. I mean, I remember people from the last workshop we did telling us that this would save them so much time. It's true. It is. It's a time
It's
saver.
also organizing. It helps people organize the effort because in all the years that I've worked in email marketing, those types of meetings end up this ego-driven affair where it's like, well, I think this. Oh, my customer is this. And you're like, well, here are the stats. Yeah, but okay, it's this ego-driven conversation, and it's frustrating. And
You know
it's
what I find so useful, Joe? Sorry for interrupting you, but when we create um, this assistant that acts like the customer, and we feed it the content or the strategy that we're thinking of doing, I mean, that is so powerful, because then you get actual feedback back from, without actually having to go out to customers and spend time and money trying. You get instant feedback on what you're producing, and you can tweak it at that moment, and that's
it's
so
like having
valuable.
those old-fashioned marketing surveys where you got
Yeah,
50 people at a mall, and
but
you were
much
able to ask
faster,
them questions. Exactly.
much
You're also
faster.
able to pivot really fast. Like,
Oh
okay,
yeah,
this isn't working. Let's dump
yeah,
this. Let's move on.
yeah. That's why I'm saying they're going away with a team of virtual assistants to help them in the future. It's really, I really mean it. It's a team. We build a team for them, which is cool. And I
Yeah.
actually have a discount code. I'm happy to share the link with you afterwards, and then you can put it in the description of the video
Oh,
if you
very
want.
good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I
You're welcome.
did listen to the first two that you did in the series
Mm-hmm.
a little way back,
Yeah.
and I found so many times when you are listening to a webinar or taking some sort of a course, it's sort of like the grandmother that gives you the recipe and leaves out 5 things. And you're like, my meatballs don't taste like grandma's. That's because, you left out 5 things purposefully. You just, this is it. This is it. This is how it works.
That's how I operate. I remember in the past going to conferences and training courses and being inspired, but you go back to your office and you can't do anything with the inspiration. So I really like people, I like giving people the actual tools in their hands to actually do something with it. I mean, that for me, I just love it when that light bulb goes off and I see that people actually get it. I mean, that gives me that gives me energy. Can't say it any other way.
That's your legacy. Not, a lot of people are playing poker with their skill sets, and your skill set is sharing. That's a true legacy. I mean, that's
It's
you're
just who I am.
teaching. Yeah, you're handing it down. It's not meant to be a secret. It's not like, oh, I'm going to covet this until I die, and I'm dying with it, and
Yeah,
let
and who
somebody
am I
else
going to
do
give it to?
that's really not. In my mind, I could teach anybody how to code, right? You could take a course to learn how to code,
Oh
but
yeah,
you can't learn. It's so difficult to learn to problem solve.
true. Very true.
So when you've got a situation, you're trying to code through it. I mean, anybody can go to school and learn how to code, but it's like when you're presented with something that's not working. Well, what do I do? I don't know what to do. Well, now you need to do the research,
Yeah,
and that's the skill set.
yeah,
And and
yeah.
you need the patience for it, and but that's not necessarily what's taught in many instances. It's not
Yeah,
like, well,
probably.
you need to, like I've told people, and somebody taught this to me, when a code doesn't work, you break it down to the first element, to the first module. Does that work? Okay, that works. That's good. Add the next one. Does that work? Good. Add the next one. It doesn't work. You found it. Now you got the problem.
Yeah,
Now
you
you
know,
now you have to solve it.
It reminds me a little bit of that 5 whys strategy where you ask the person, okay, so but why? Why is this happening?
Right.
Oh, because this and this and this. And okay, this and this and this. Why is that happening? And that's how you go to the root cause of the issue, right? So that's the other way around. Oh.
Exactly. And the thing is, at some certain point, that's the skill.
Probably.
Skill. Where they're like, okay, now I got the answer. Now I almost have the solution. Now I have to roll the solution out. How do you do that? Not everybody could do that. Sometimes people are like, well, and they're jammed up. They can't do it.
You know, I'm the type of person I don't really. I mean, I can do probably a lot of things and maybe things that other people don't know how to do or whatever, but I don't find myself being special or anything. I mean, I don't even think I'm that much cleverer than other people. I don't take myself too seriously. I just, whatever I know and whatever I can. I mean, part of why I love being in that motorcycle community is also because I love just bringing people together. People that don't know anyone else is riding a motorcycle. I just love to bring these people together, make sure that they feel comfortable and that they enjoy themselves and they learn to do things better. The same with me sharing my knowledge. I just, it's no big deal. It's just because
You're
I love.
humble, and that's a good, that's a good trait to have. Humility.
Thanks.
I like to remind myself, be humble, be humble. I'm not a braggart. I'm not a braggart, but sometimes, you need to say, I have a particular skill set, but still be, still have humility in saying it. That's getting the job by saying,
Well, here's the thing. When you're a consultant, and I've been a consultant for a long time, right? When you're a consultant, you also have to get clients, right? So you can't just give everything away because then clients won't pay for you to do it. So you have to find that balance between giving them just enough so they want more and they hire you to do the thing. At the moment, I mean, I still have my side business. I do some consulting a little bit and I do some training courses and stuff, but it's not my main income. And I'm doing it because I love doing it first and foremost. And probably that makes a little bit of a difference as well. Maybe. I don't know.
so it's good to be Tamara Gielen. And I'm glad to be one of those people that know you. Would you like to leave something? I don't know, something to the audience as your last thought. I put you on the spot.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I think maybe it's a little bit of a deep statement, but enjoy life because it can be over before you know it. And I've seen that way too many times. I've lost people that are very dear to me who thought that they would have their whole life ahead of them and then all of a sudden they were gone. That's basically the philosophy that I've had for all of my life. You live your life the way you want it. You don't care about other people's opinions. You care just about what you, and I'm not talking about being selfish, but the fastest way to become unhappy is if you care about what other people think about you. You just live your life your way. You do the things that you want to do. You make the decisions and the choices that you want to make. And that's what in the end it's all about.
And it's
Enjoy life.
somewhat simple when you think about it that way. I mean, people will attempt to make happiness a complex thing.
It
It's
isn't.
really not.
It isn't. It isn't. It's and I've been single for 10 years before I met my partner, and I was happy just living by myself. And I always told myself, I will not step into another relationship until I meet someone who adds something to my life instead of, just be there and take stuff away. And yeah, my current partner, we've been together for 5 years. We're happy. And he adds something to my life and life is good.
Yeah.
Life is good in
Like,
general. So live your life any which way you want. It's your decision, it's your life, and what everybody else thinks.
let them live their life. It's not yours.
Exactly. Everybody will have an opinion.
Everybody
And
will and does. And sometimes I find myself having an opinion, and I'll often, that's when I usually say to myself, Joy, be humble.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
It's like,
Think before you speak.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes need to do that myself as well.
It, life is an exercise in learning, and if you can be honest in yourself, and if someone can appreciate that about you, then just keep going down that route. Um, Not everyone's going to appreciate you, but the people that do,
But the ones that don't,
it's
they
okay.
are passersby in your life. They're not staying.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
deep, deep, deep. We can have a philosophical conversation the next time we talk.
That's a good idea.
I
That's a good
thank you
idea.
so much for coming on and being with me. Is there a website or something that people can find you? Something?
Well, I have my blog, which is b2bemailmarketing.com, and then I have my own website, which is tamaragielen.com, but I'll send you the link so you can add
Okay,
them in the description.
they'll all be below.
Yeah, down there.
Where you're
And then
supposed to
subscribe.
subscribe. Right. Don't forget to subscribe. I know.
I'm going to pick your brain at some point about doing videos because I'd love to get into that as well.
Oh, we could talk. We could, girlfriend, we could talk. So thank you very much.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. It was so much fun.
It was fun. We'll catch up again. Have a great time in France.
Thank you.
Keep on trucking. I don't know. What's the expression?
Fly safe.
Fly safe. There you go.
Don't break a leg.
Yeah, really. I was going to say something like that. I was like, no, that's what you do in theater because you don't want to definitely do.
In Dutch we say make sure the rubber stays on the bottom of the on the road rather than
There's something about the rubber. Don't let the something hit the rubber of the road. Something like that. I don't know. Don't let the rubber. I'll have to.
Whatever.
That's it for now. It's a wrap.
Joy, have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.